What happens when you buy a camper from 1986? Well, it's quite simple really. You end up having to gut the whole thing out because clearly somebody didn't know what they were doing in here when they built the whole thing out last time. Because if they did, it wouldn't be such a mess as it is right now. Inside the back of here, I noticed that there was a very musty smell going on all the time. And I diagnosed what the problem was actually, and it turned out to be these roof vents. So it's very hard to see because of the way the lighting is, but the way that these things are being fitted, there's actually a gap all the way around, and the things weren't actually sealed to the body correctly, so they've been leaking all this time into the ply lining, which was like sheeted all the way across the roof and across the walls. Everything, all the carpet, and it was all like damp constantly, and because of that basically the ply lining all rotted. So as you can see, this is all fiberglass, so this is fine. These things, these were horrible to try and get these off of. The ply lining had warped all the way down all the walls, and it was just being hidden by the carpet that was over the top, which was nasty as well. Then on top of that, I found that the windows themselves all the way around, they leak as well. They don't leak all the way around. I've fixed most of it by putting some silicone in the edge here, but they still leak, and like as you can see, like look at this, the way it's coming off. I mean, this is just no good. All this needs to be sorted. These are perspex, they're not actually glass, so yes, they're lighter, but they look awful. So I'm going to probably replace them with something better. As you can see, this side is just the same. It's just, look at this, look, it's just horrible. It's fallen to bits. Somebody's really bodged this. When I removed the partition behind me, I realised that it was very heavy because it weighed a ton. It was really thick chipboard like this. And obviously that was getting wet thanks to the skylights above me. So when I pulled it all out with the carpet and everything, then I really realised that everything in here needs to be taken out. So it's actually becoming quite a large job I wasn't expecting. So smash the thumbs up button for the YouTube algorithm. And looking at it the way it was with everything in it, it looked like it was pretty good in here and it was like a nice place to be, but it wasn't. It was just adequate. You could use it, but it was like walking into a house where somebody hasn't decorated for 30 years. It was just, it's a house, but it's not a home. I can't really explain it any better than that. It needs sorting out in here. So here we go, we're starting. I mean, now that we have everything out, we can really appreciate how much space that we've got to actually work with in here. These benches, unfortunately, I cannot remove them because they're part of the structural integrity of the vehicle. So both sides are going to have to stay here, and you're going to end up with this gangway which has to stay here. By the way, this area here, it doesn't actually go anywhere. It's very strange. You can lift it up, but it doesn't go anywhere. It's just the actual bed of the vehicle. Pretty cool though. So this shows that this romahome isn't for this vehicle. Like when I insured it was the same issue, because when I went to insure the Bedford, they classed it as a pickup truck, and I said, well, it's a romahome, it's got a romahome on it, and they'd had no record of it ever being a romahome. So somebody bought this back part and they just dumped it on the back here, which is fair enough. You can buy these shells and do them out however you want, and the pickup truck can pull it along perfectly fine. But somebody has bodged this. I don't have any idea of how old this box is. So it clearly looks like it's for a different vehicle, or like a different version of the Rascal. So there's been a lot of cutouts, there's been a lot of bits that have been bodged and bits that have just been put together. So all of that has to come out now, and we have to pull it all back to the way I think that it should be. and start from scratch, which is, it's quite a big job, to be quite honest with you. But once it's done, it's going to look pretty awesome. I must admit, it's going to be amazing in here, and I'm actually going to be able to use it, because this is something that I've always wanted to do. I wanted to just get something of my own and travel around the country in it, and I've not been able to do that, and now I certainly can't do that, so I need to get this built. And my idea is to get it built by summer, so somehow I've got to try and learn how to build things and get this thing built, which I'm sure that I'll learn. I've got my dad with me as well, so he knows a lot about these things, and I'm sure that a few of you as well will be pretty good experts on this. So if you've got any ideas or any thoughts on how you think it should look, or any concerns about it, just let me know down in the comments and I'll get back to you. So as you can see, I have peeled back all of the layers, leaving the fiberglass shell underneath. Being that it is fiberglass and not made out of metal, it cannot rust, and it can also not rot like if it was made out of wood. However, the wood skin layer that was over the top of the fiberglass can rot, which is exactly what happened to mine because of incorrectly fitted roof vents and windows. Someone truly has done some DIY here and basically said, that's good enough, which in my opinion it isn't. Fair enough, this isn't a live-in vehicle, it's too small for that, but it still needs to be a good standard even to use on weekends. I want it to be watertight like a boat and as warm as a log cabin with a fire roaring, and that's not going to be possible if I can't get it watertight in the first place, and I can't put a skin layer in again that's not going to rot. So I want it to be comfortable, and the way that it isn't comfortable. It hasn't been comfortable fully because of the way that there was mould up the walls and the smell that there was in there. It just looked like it was comfortable. Sometimes you have to pull things apart to see what lies beneath, and that's what I've had to do here. So do you think I'm insane? Because I'm starting to think that I might be slightly insane for even thinking of buying this in the first place. Looking at it now, it looks like a bit of a money pit. It may be a while before it's finished. However, I do have a goal to complete it by the summer because I want to use it. For too long, I've had to put my dreams on hold. The first problem was the running gear side of things, which I managed to put right in the autumn, which made it usable, but then seeing these leaks, I knew something was lurking below that cute exterior that would lead me to further investigation and end in me pulling the whole thing apart. So now everything is out, we can truly appreciate how much space that we have to work with, and we don't have to have a top-heavy load wandering around the roads anymore, and we can start afresh. Because that partition that we did have above the cab area, it was too heavy. It was giant chipboard. It had the stereo system in there. When I took all of this out, it was really heavy stuff. So now it's completely different, and I'm sure that it will drive a lot better. However, I understand that I'm also going to have to put more stuff in it again, so we'll have to see. But even chipping out those chunks that are all over the ceiling that you can see, that was about 2 kilos worth of rubbish as well that was removed. So it's looking pretty good. So something I've learned with this camper is that sometimes you've got to pull things apart to find out what's beneath it and see what you actually need to do to fix it. I'm quite lucky knowing that this is watertight in terms of it being fiberglass. Now, every time that somebody cuts something out, such as the windows or the roof vents, then it's no longer watertight in those areas. So now that I've got it, I'm going to make sure that when I refit these bits, these are all going to be fully watertight, because I want it to be warm in here, I want it to be nice to be in, and I don't want to get wet. If I wanted to get wet, I would go outside when it was raining, not be in here and get wet and get dripped on all the time. More and more this is starting to look like a bit of a money pit, but I can't wait to do it because I can't wait to fix it up, because this is my first project ever, and I'm sure that I'm going to learn a lot from doing it. And the more that I do, the more that I won't be worried when I come against these sort of projects in the future. So wish me luck.